Well, Eric, it's West Virginia's call-in show on the Voice of College Football, and it is trick or treat time for Rich Rod, right?
Absolutely.
Think because 2 weeks ago it was an absolute trick. Like, like I'm in Bizarro World. This can't be the football team I fell in love with years ago. It's like maybe Disney is doing a movie and someone has to come out, and just I don't know. Then last week, a little bit of a treat. Got a little bit of a toothache because they were just so much better than they were before. It was a pleasant surprise. Competitive, didn't win, but was happy she could be in a loss. So it's Houston week, and we're going to talk a little bit of recruiting first because, Rich Rod's ramping it up. A little bit of recruiting, and then we're going to talk about Houston. So, Eric, what are your thoughts so far on where we're at as far as, Houston? Houston, do you think West Virginia has a chance?
I think we were talking in a previous show that this was probably our first or second best chance at a win. I actually, I think I feel that way even more so now. I did a little bit of research, and yeah, I like a lot of other things about our matchup.
That's good. That's good. Well, we got a couple people in the chat, and Afton is watching. Hopefully not from a horse trailer like she was last show. Anyways, so Rich Rod, God bless his heart, and it's because the opportunity. So let's just go through the laundry list of coaching jobs, and if I miss some, please chat. Correct me, Eric. Correct me. LSU. Brian Kelly lost his job. James Franklin lost his job. Virginia Tech's looking for a coach. There are a lot of UCLA fired their coach. Florida fired their coach. These are all big programs with lots of money, big donors. However, Matt Rule re-signed today with Nebraska, bigger contract, so he's not going anywhere. I think maybe some of these. I think James Franklin should be going out there collecting maybe 5% off the top from all these coaches getting higher salaries because everybody's using these job losses as this shuffling as leverage to renegotiate their contracts and make more money.
100% agree, buddy. Did you hear that? Sorry, go ahead. Well, yeah, he's barely squeaking by on that. Akron, that's the name of the school. Akron had let their coach go as well, and actually they just made the hire today. So the notion of not only are you letting coaches go, they're already replacing them. And we've talked about this in previous episodes where now you have to do that. That is now the new cycle. You cannot wait till the end of the season. If you've waited till the end of the season, you've waited too long because that player carousel, it's already turning.
Yeah, key players are coming in this week. All the other shows we're talking about, Brown coming in, Jade coming in, but this is the time where it's getting hot. It's strange world we live in where we're in late October, but beginning October, a lot of the heads started to roll. People started to get fired. And we're just starting the month of November. And Rich Rod, God bless him, is he's using all of the heads that are rolling, the chopping block to get some leverage with these other Power 4 schools, around the neighborhood and the country, for crying out loud. When there's a coaching change, it's like buzzards. It's like all the coaches just start swarming around there like turkey vultures, picking the bones of these top recruits. So Kevin Brown's coming in, right? And his dad, Tim, played for good old Rich Roddy Rod in what was it, 2004?
That would be about that right time. But yeah. Legacy.
So Now another kid, David Davis, you know, he was supposed to go to, and I'll go through some of these schools here that that are losing some folks, but he's a Penn State commit who took a visit was during the coal rush, and what a time to take a visit. The atmosphere is fantastic. Even though they lost, it was competitive, which makes it palatable for a recruit. I mean, if they came and got blown out, Eric, what do you think? That's not a good look for a recruit, right?
I completely agree. And we talked about the notion that there's two great scenarios to attract recruits. One is you're the king already, and who doesn't want to walk into, the big dog program? The other is that you see a program that is right on the edge of making a big
Right.
move. And quite honestly, the notion that West Virginia is in this position right now where things aren't going great. But if you look at things like our injury reports, where we have key players who are missing, you see that Rich is getting his system installed on the offense, but we're not quite there with everybody we need. That is a great way to attract recruits. And the thing that to me it was the selling point, that atmosphere, people saw that in the midst of a troubling season, our our fans came out.
Yeah.
I don't know that we completely filled the stadium, but it was close. And just the atmosphere of the coal rush, of the LED headlamps, the stadium, it was loud. Everybody was so stoked. I guarantee you that helped a lot of young players make up their minds.
Yeah, Jake told it a show about it on Locked On Big 12. Uh, and he was just saying, listen, guys, this team is 2-5. And I got chills watching just the excitement in this in the stand. So
Hmm.
that's saying he's, I don't know if he has a West Virginia bias. I don't think he does. So coming from an outside guy, he's from Arkansas, but there's no doubt that Rich Rod has a team of guys that when the chopping block, the hammer comes down, and they know they have they probably have a sheet of paper like the hot seat. This coach probably going to get shit canned, and they have all the numbers to all these kids that are committed. And I think that I think they these guys text with both fingers. Unlike me, I text with one. Are you a two text? Are you a both thumb guy or a one thumb guy?
I don't care what teenager you put me up against. I can keep up with them. I use two thumbs like the best.
Wow, just talk about bragging, man. That's some. You're a two thumb guy. So Rich Rod has two thumb guys that can use two thumbs, maybe a few girls, and they hit these commits up, and they can't really reach out, but I'm sure they're reaching out to their agent or somebody. But
Hmm.
some sort of communication is made. I don't know if it's passenger pigeon or smoke signals, but they're jumping all over these kids, and the early signing period is December, so you know instead of hiring a coach in December and then getting your feet wet, Rich Rod was hired like end of December, right?
I don't remember, but
Yeah,
it
sometime in
was
there.
too
But
late.
he,
Yeah.
he was behind he was behind the time. But there's some big names that came up. Some big guys, some offensive linemen. You got some guys from Florida, an offensive tackle from Penn State. Uh, you know, just from what was an article yesterday from who was this? Let me look. Who was this? I want to source of Skylar Callahan. I have it on my phone here. So
From Callahan Brake Parts.
yeah, yeah, Tommy Boy, ladies and gentlemen, that's a great movie. Uh, Arkansas had an offensive line named Ben Mabenga. He decommitted. Big, huge, physical dude. They don't make them like that. It's a couple extra stacks of pancakes to get someone that big in that sweet, I'm sure. Florida has Javari Lacus, yeah. Now Penn State. Rich Rod is going after a handful of cats there. We talked about last show Matt Sieg, okay? Kevin Brown, which we know who Kevin Brown is. His dad played for the Mountaineers in the early aughts. They're going after a linebacker by the name of Terry Wiggins, and then David Davis, which I've seen listed as a receiver, but I've seen him listed as an athlete. Athletes usually are a skill player, maybe a punt returner, some sort of guy that can play multiple positions. Defensive lineman Isaac Chekawara. I butchered that name. That's my.
It was perfect, buddy.
What?
You did that perfectly.
Oh my gosh, I choked on that. And then Virginia Tech has an offensive lineman, Adrian Hamilton. I don't know if he's decommitted or not, but Skylar has in his notes. It's one to watch. So that is just kind of a roll up of guys that they're kind of casting the net out there. But we talk about there's some like the weather vane, and you maybe have a little thermometer outside your window, or things to check the barometric pressure. And the health of an organization is determined by, we talk about this, ticket prices, right, Eric?
That's always a great indicator,
right? So we always go and we look on StubHub or SeatGeek, and it looks like this week's game with the Mountaineers and Houston what are they ranked, Eric?
22, I believe.
22. So if West Virginia, Eric, was the top 22 team, it would be butts to nuts, elbows to armpits in the stadium in Morgantown, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been since 2000, I think 20, early 20s that Houston was ranked, I think 21. So it's been a little while. You think that their fans will be up there? We've been a little longer, I think 2018. But so there's the scenario. We're pretty similar, but lay out the story here, because I was shocked by this.
So I'm looking maybe 15 minutes before the show, just what the ticket prices are. So tickets for the Colorado West Virginia game this in a week, selling for around $48 a ticket. That's pretty good. For a team that has 2 wins. I think that's fantastic. $17 for your program that's a top 20, well, almost top 20, ranked 22 Houston Cougar fans. For $17, that is literally one McDonald's like number 4 meal, and maybe like a 6-piece or 10-piece nugget. That's how much it would cost to get one ticket. I just can't. That doesn't compute. They're selling for that cheap. Houston is not a bad team. So with that being said, I use that as like a barometer when we do our recruiting too, because I want to see what teams that West Virginia are who's West Virginia competing with? Are they competing against a Boston College, an Arkansas, maybe a Virginia Tech, or a South Carolina, Auburn? Those are schools I think West Virginia can compete against and maybe get some talent. I don't expect them to be, in the race with a lot of guys that are going to Ohio State, but occasionally that happens. But like what I'm setting up is like the barometer we use, the measuring stick for ticket sales. How much those tickets are going. I use what commits are, what other schools are looking at or have offered. So we're going to go through the 27 commits really quickly, talk about their position, height, weight, when they committed, and also, and this is according to 247. Okay. Right now, Eric, where do you think West Virginia ranks in the top? They're top 50 for recruiting, but where do you think they rank?
So before I give an answer, I'll first of all say the top 50 is pretty good. We've had a lot of recruiting classes that, they were in the 70s. So top 50 is not bad, especially for a brand new coach. I'm going to say we got to be close to 50. We got to be real close to 50.
You're really close, 44. Now, Eric, before the show, you had said West Virginia's highest rating was in the 20s, right?
Yeah.
So in my mind, even before you told me that, I'm thinking a healthy West Virginia program should be around 30. Would you think that's like, is that too high or too low, or is that about right? I mean, give me a Goldilocks. Tell me, let me know.
All right, Papa Bear. In my my history of paying attention to such things, uh, if we get in the 30s, we're having a great recruiting year. There's a big difference between 40 and 20. So in the 40s and in the 20s, that's huge. Uh, if we can get into the 20s, buddy, watch out. I think even just getting into the 30s is going to be phenomenal if we can get there. If we get into the 20s, we are not only looking to be good, we're probably already good.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. So the first guy I have is Vincent Smith from Carl Sandburg in Orland Park, Illinois. He's a cornerback, 6'2", 200 pounds. In July, he committed. And this young man had offers from Purdue, Eastern Michigan, Illinois State, and Iowa. So I would say that's about a good target for Rich Rod. Would you say, without looking at any tape, looking at your magic 8 ball or your crystal ball, would you think that's about where West Virginia should be? That's the kind of guy they should be looking for,
I'll be honest. I think he's a fan. He's one of the ones I'm more excited about.
Right.
Secondary is great if you get, because first of all, he's got height. That's great height for somebody playing DB. Great size too. And the fact that he was getting some interest from Purdue, they got some pretty high academic standards. Now, mind you, maybe all their football players don't meet those standards. That's probably the standard for any school, but that's a great catch. So yeah, that if we can get more players like that, heck yeah, that's a great catch for us.
And I'm going, guys and gals at home, I'm going by the rating. Right now, his 3-star rating, and he's rated at 89. Okay. So next on my list is Jyrone Hughley, Cardinal Newman, West Palm Beach, Florida. He's an athlete. So we talked a little bit before about athletes. He's recruited by Boston College, Bowling Green, Florida Atlantic, and Florida State. He's another one that I think is right in the ballpark of where West Virginia should be, trying to sow the seeds of where they're going to grow the future Mountaineers for 26 to 27 and beyond. Sir Paul Cheeks. You've heard that name, haven't you, Eric? Big name.
You kidding? That's the name alone. But yeah.
Sounds like he should be on a basketball card from like Maurice Cheeks from the 80s, played in the NBA.
You went way, buddy, I got bad news. That's like 70s and 80s, but yeah.
That's true. He's from Richmond, Virginia. Now, he's had offers from Kentucky, Appalachian State, Ball State, and Buffalo. Now, you think Appalachian State, but Appalachian State they've been very successful the past few years. So that makes them feel a lot better. Kentucky is up and down, but it's an SEC school. I think this kid here, if he was 2 inches taller and maybe another 15 pounds, he would be a 4 or 5 star.
Yep. Another great catch.
Another good catch. So another guy on the list here is a safety, 6'4", 205, lanky dude, a lot of length. Emery Snyder. He's from Bixby, Oklahoma. I don't know how the hell they got him away from how did Oklahoma State not snatch this kid? But they competed with West Virginia so they got him in June. They got him signed in June. Colorado State, Dartmouth, Illinois State, North Texas. So these are some schools where I think West Virginia is, if you're just looking at the schools in general, West Virginia stands out as a much better program than anybody on this list. There's nobody in the same, the same level as the Mountaineers as far as history and just, credibility of the program. Colorado State has never been any good. Dartmouth is Ivy League. Illinois State, I didn't even know who they were. North
The
Texas, I've heard of,
Salukis.
but I don't know. Makes me question it, but I don't know. I'll have to watch tape. But he is a rating.
I'll be honest. I think the reason you steal him from a lot of other programs is probably because of his size, not his height. But we've got a pretty good strength program, and I think the idea that Rich is more than happy to get a strong base of incoming high school players and then develop them. He's done a lot with quick turnarounds, but this would be one that he'll invest in. So yeah, no, I'm a good pick.
You think like 6'4", 205, play safety.
Oh yeah,
athletic and fast. You could put 20 pounds on his frame and make him a linebacker. I mean, that's what I'm thinking when I see this kid.
I'm thinking bandit. Like you said, you don't have to put on, like you said, 20 pounds. 20 pounds in that kid, he'll be real fast still.
Yeah. Another kid that looks good lengthwise, 6'5", 235, edge rusher, Carter Kessler. He's high school Shelby, Ohio, not far away. Mm-hmm. He has a composite score of 87. These past 4 guys have been 87. He's a hard commit to West Virginia, and he committed a month ago. Now, who else is in the mix? Memphis and Miami of Ohio. So I think he's a good get. Once again, I don't feel bad about, they're not digging around in trash cans getting this guy's behind the sheets, but at down there in down by where's the sheets at Star City, right? There's 2 of them. Jaden Ballard from Virginia, another 87 ranking, 6'1" safety, 180 pounds. He committed just this week. Just this week, he committed to Rich Rod's program. He is, now this, okay, Buffalo Bryant, and you're like, Buffalo Bryant? What the hell's Bryant? He also was offered by the Air Force Academy and the United States Military Academy at West Point Army. So he has to be a smart kid, has to have really good, I don't know, the intangibles for this kid must be off the charts.
I love this. I love this kid. If nothing else, what do you always say about playing military academies? They're going to be disciplined.
Yeah.
So I can't wait.
Yeah, I think this kid is 6'1", 180. Committed this week. I mean, Army has a really good. They've been balling out the past couple of years. They've been playing some good football. Next on my list is Cameron Mallory from Moody, Alabama. They're going way down south to get this cat. It looks like a handful. He looks like a bowling ball with a great haircut. He is a big dude, 6'2", 295. Please give me another biscuit. Cameron Mallory. What teams we're looking at this cat? Appy State, Boston College, Akron, Arkansas State. So, he visited Boston College May 30th. He committed to West Virginia in June after he came down. I think I see this guy, I think run stopper. What do you think?
You nailed it. He's going to be an anchor for that line. That's a young man with enough size that you can build around him, and he will be the center of the focus.
I'm going to go down. I'm going to go down to hear a few more, and then we'll pop off and talk about Houston. But Cameron Dreyer, Jet Walker. Jet Walker is a running back. He's from Georgetown, Texas. Jet Walker is he's an 86. Minnesota, Houston, Bowling Green, and Charlotte. What I'm trying to get at here, guys, if you haven't picked up on it, is most everybody on this list. There's comparable schools that are recruiting these guys. West Virginia might be head and shoulders, better than some of them, but most of these are. We talked about this before. When you have like Cade Bush, he's a tight end, 6'4", 220.
Yep, that's the one we were talking about before. Yeah,
Yeah. Kansas State, Arkansas, North Dakota State. And West Virginia gets this kid over Kansas State, Arkansas, and North Dakota State. North Dakota State plays for national championship every year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kansas State's been balling out. Arkansas is an SEC school. So, the fact that they're bringing in these caliber guys, it's just going to get better. So, guys, it's really something to get excited about. I don't know. Should I do a couple more? Or should we just kind of cut sling load?
Let's hit a few more, and we got to apologize to Afton because we stole one of their, one of Kansas State's players there. But
oh yeah. Well,
he's a great catch.
No, he is, but it just makes you feel better. And they're going all over. Minnesota, Oregon. Noah Tizendorf is an edge rusher, 6'3", 240. He committed in June. He's a big dude. Let me see who he was recruited by. Oregon State, of course. Fresno State, Idaho, and Montana. This kid's out there in Oregon. So, I mean, how the hell did he go out to the Rich Rod and company go out to Oregon and recruit this kid to West Virginia? I don't know why. These kids are seeing something in Morgantown that they're liking, and it's gonna happen, guys. With the Pitt game being as rowdy and fantastic as it was, and this Coal Bowl being not Coal Rush. I'm sorry, I said Coal Bowl. There's the different Coal Bowl. But Sam Hamilton from Archbishop Moore in Cincinnati. That's one of those big, huge Catholic schools down there that just whoop ass. 6'4", 230. This kid's a tight end, Eric. All these kids are rated 86, 87. They're not dropping off. Akron, Bowling Green, Central Michigan, and Duke. Okay. Don't have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me see.
These are top 100 recruits, and we're getting them at a time where, think about this. WV is 2-5. And so they're seeing things in the program. There's a lot of, it's more, we're not just being homers here trying to, blow smoke. Well, that's not the case. We're building things here. There's a lot of upside to this program. Rich does seem to be doing some great things. And I want to hit on that in a little bit here when we talk about Houston, but
Right. So next, I have a kid from Massachusetts. Charlie Hannafin is an athlete, 6'2", 189, and guess who was recruiting him? Boston College. Simaj Hill. Now he's from St. Joseph's Prep in Philadelphia. St. Joseph's Prep usually has a lot of great basketball players.
Yep.
Yeah. James Madison is Syracuse. So Ricky Giles, he's a safety, 5'11", 185. He committed in June. A lot of commits in June, of course. Boise State, Memphis, Missouri State, and North Texas. I find it interesting. Who is what? What programs does West Virginia have to beat out for these guys? Now, Maliki Thompson from Nitro, West Virginia. That's not the polka dots. What's Nitro's? Nitro High School.
I'm not really sure.
I'm trying to think what their mascot is. I used to know that. In the chat, you'll tell me. I'm sure.
I bet it's the Rockets.
Ohio. Yeah. Marshall, Ohio, Akron, and Eastern Kentucky. Okay. Now, last kid I have here, Wyatt Brown from Sherman Oaks, California. Quarterback, 6'2", 185. He has a combined composite score of 84. He was recruited by Arkansas, California, Cornell, and UCF.
Yep.
So he has one of the lowest combined composite scores, and he was recruited by Arkansas, California, Cornell, and UCF. So right there proves my point that Rich Rod is recruiting a higher caliber talent than what Neil Brown was, because I remember doing this last year and not seeing nearly. It was apples and oranges, like there it looks like, apples and apples, West Virginia, Boston College. Wouldn't you say? I mean, Boston College is kind of on the downhill slide compared to what they were years ago, but you don't feel so bad recruiting against Boston College. You know, you can beat them out. That's an ACC school, or there was a couple schools that were Syracuse and Duke was in there, but it's not Coastal Carolina. It's not always Miami of Ohio or Kent State. Things are on the up and up, Eric. Sorry, I've talked the whole god darn time there.
No, it's good, man. You had good stuff. And I agree. The level of recruiting class we have coming in is something to be very optimistic about. It's indicative that not only do we have things to look forward to now, but there's enough evidence that there are things in the works right now, not just for the future, but right now that people are seeing there are things working towards the right direction. And quite honestly, we'll get into it here in a minute about the notion of, well, I'll just mention it now because it's really just a small story. And that is, if you compare injury reports, because now that's the thing now in college football, we were decimated after the Ohio game. And we have been since. And so the notion of, how different would our season have been had we not had these injuries is a very valid question. The notion that we're seeing improvements, even still, significant improvements. These are things that are happening right now that not only we're seeing, but recruits are seeing. And they're seeing that they could fit in and they could either immediately contribute or that's something that they want to work their way into and be a contributor in years to come. We lost your
high school kid, just knowing that, I'm getting a chance. If I start, I'm be as an offensive lineman, I'm be making $250,000. That's enticing. That in order to get that money, that's the going rate for starting offensive lineman, of course. But you got to start somewhere. And when I looked last week, I was watching the game itself. A stat came up, and it compared West Virginia's recruiting to TCU. And of course, TCU had 40 folks that were high school recruits that had been in the system for a few years, where West Virginia had maybe 10. That dynamic is going to change, and we'll see that trend the pyramid kind of balance out. And as the program gets healthier, I think that's a great point. So with that, talked about recruiting. Let's talk about the Cougars. You ready?
Hit us.
So we'll start off with, what's the spread? What's the over and under? Okay. For all you degenerates out there, after I'm talking to you. Spread Houston. It's negative 13.5. So if you're a Mountaineer fan, are you going to take the points? Well, I don't know. After last week, is it rinse and repeat? Does Scotty Fox have the same type of performance? Personally, I don't think he does. I think he has a little bit of a letdown. 303 yards is fantastic. So if this cat is 80% as effective, gives us maybe 220 yards, I think West Virginia has a damn good chance. Eric, what's your take? You had some great comments right before the show.
I wish I'd written them down, but we'll do our best. I agree with you. I think there's going to have to be a little bit of a letdown. Scotty's performance last week was a freshman record here at WVU, all-time record. So you don't expect that kind of thing to be repeated this week. Now, that being said, like you said, 220, 250, somewhere in there. That's a great, that gives you a shot, especially if we can get the ground game going a little bit, which I think, we'd mentioned on the last show. How many plays did you see against TCU where just a step faster through the hole, or maybe somebody sustains a block just a fraction of a second longer? You see where the plays were going. If we can do that better this week, I think and percentage wise, I had seen where Fox, I think it was Fox Sports, was saying that we had about a 19% chance of winning this game. That was about what we had against TCU, and everyone saw. We were right there with TCU. You get a few plays to go different way in that game. One of those early fourth down attempts, goes your way. The onside kick maybe goes your way. Any one of a few plays goes your way. That game could have been a W. We were not out of it by a long shot. I look at Houston the same way. Do you mind if I continue?
Yeah, shoot, baby, go.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about Houston's offense. And the thing about TCU is the thing that killed us against TCU is the big splash plays. That's what I hear a lot of people saying. It's the big play. And then that's where they really made their money. Houston doesn't do as much of that. They'll get a few big plays, but they do a lot of passing. That's where they're making a lot of their money too, just like TCU did. But they're only running, I think, they're not running nearly as much. And to me, their run game is from what I've seen, it's very predictable. They love that left side of their offensive line. I think and quite honestly, I don't fault them for that. And I don't think I'm saying anything that everyone else hasn't said or noticed. But I guess my point is this. We talked about last show how Rich said it's not what you call, it's what you can execute. And Houston's proving that they can run behind their left side of their line. So that's a challenge. If our defense, which I think our defense is going to have a good game this week, I think we have everything in place because Houston's had trouble defending the pass, pass blocking.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can bring in pressure from places where, again, maybe not traditional. I think we could have some success there. If we combine that with a little bit of counter push on the defensive line, I think we could slow their offense down. And to me, that's what we need to do. Fritz is something like 17-0 when his team scored 21 points. We need to slow down their offense. And I think we have the ability to do that if we can get pressure on their quarterback, which he's shown that he is susceptible to pressure. That to me is the big thing. And if we can do that, I think our offense had a good enough showing, and we have enough hope from what we saw last week. Forget the spread. I think we have a chance to win this one outright.
I agree. They're the polar opposite of TCU. They grind it out, and it's going to be, if they get a big score, they're just going to use their wheels and just grind you out. And like I heard on another podcast, it's the game goes by so quick because they hold the ball for so long. You don't see it go back and forth. There's not a lot of 3 and outs. And Willie Fritz has been a ball coach for umpteen million years. He's an older guy. So I don't think he's in contention to get any other programs, to be in the talk for be in the conversation for like a, LSU or anything. And I thought he was going to be a big name for, maybe West Virginia 2 years ago, thinking Neil Brown was going to get fired. He was one of my favorites. He's an old school ball coach, and I think he's a hell of a good coach. I just hope Rich Rod doesn't get out coached.
And that's not a slam on Rich Rod. You're right. I mean, Willie Fritz is if you look at his philosophies, they're very simple. They're the same thing you hear. I don't care what game you're watching, you're going to hear the same things repeated. And among those are, no turnovers, win the turnover battle, establish your ground game. He's got very simple beliefs that they are as old as the game itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just, Rich Rod is a little bit more avant-garde and like just kind of, but anyways, I think West Virginia has a hell of a chance here. And I said it Monday. I'm going to say it again. If West Virginia can hang on and have an upset, there's an upset brewing. It's either going to be this week or next week. They're not going to lose all 4 of these games. I just don't think it's going to happen. They're going to win at least one. But if they can if they go 500 for the rest of the season, win 2 games, I think this is one of them. Colorado's one of them. Arizona State, I don't know. Texas Tech, I don't know. But these 2, I'm pretty certain West Virginia can hang around and make it a hell of a game.
Absolutely. I got a question for you along those lines, because this is a point I wanted to bring up. If we win, let's say we win all the rest of our games, do you think everybody's going to be thrilled, and it's going to be the end of murmuring and frustrations? I honestly don't believe it would be.
No,
I
because
think.
here's the thing: the folks that are not content with the situation as it is were the
Mhm.
ones that were kind of on the fence to begin with, and just kind of like, oh, we'll see what happens. And now they're doing the "I told you so." Well, how can you tell me so when he has that opportunity? He's getting some decent recruits in the door. He's
Mhm.
building the culture. It's happening. You saw a dramatic improvement from 10 days ago to just to 2 weeks ago. I mean, just I'll tell you what, as a fan, I was almost brought to tears by the fact that there was hope. There was no hope after the TCU game. I was like, okay, I'm gonna look my envelope. I'm gonna send my diploma back. Maybe I'll get maybe some online school. I'll get a degree, and maybe they'll get a football team, and they'll be better than the Mountaineers. I'm exaggerating, but it was pretty
Well, you're
close.
making a great point. Who thought that we would have that kind of? I did not think it was possible to have that level of improvement on the offensive line
No,
this late in the season in one game. And the difference was night and day. And they made some personnel changes. They moved some people around. I think also too they did a lot more rolling out. And to me, when you do that, that favors more athletic linemen who maybe aren't as powerful. It also, to me, if you have a quarterback who's more mobile, I think it helps them because they can see better. Because as you're moving, space gaps open up, and
yeah,
which we don't, I want to get into that here. But the point I was going to get at was, and you said it. You've seen improvements. We
oh my,
talked probably about 3 or 4 games ago. Do you think that Rich is doing everything he can to win now while also developing the program? And to me, the answer was yes then. And I think we're seeing it now. And it's more of that. He's made changes such that the offensive line's playing fantastic. You're
I
seeing players get in. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm just agreeing with you. Absolutely, you see players get in.
You're seeing players get in, and we're seeing potential. Everybody's talking about Curtis Jones coming in. You know what? That's been in the works. Rich even said, look, I would have played him last week, but wasn't comfortable. And that's the notion. You can't be desperate, but you've got to be creative. And I think Rich is managing that really well. He's been creative. We converted Curtis Jones, who plays bandit and defensive side of the ball, but played running back in high school and was a very successful running back, albeit in West Virginia. I mean, he didn't play in Miami, but he was great. And Rich is like, you know what? We're going to be creative here. He's a big player. He's got experience. Let's run him through some cycles here during practice, and that's what he's doing. So I do think we have a chance to see him. Do I think that this is something that was considered before the year? No, Lord, no, wasn't needed. We had a stable of running backs. It's just that we've
Yeah,
had a ridiculous
I
number of
we
injuries.
yeah, we're like we're going through like just a couple months ago, one of your first couple shows, we're going through the laundry list of, are we going to see this guy? Maybe we'll see this guy. I want to see Edwards. Well, he's on fourth on the list. It's just like, what the hell? I mean, you had like this arsenal,
Yeah,
like an arms room of just talent, and all of a sudden we're out there with muskets and pitchforks. So and Rich Rod used those muskets and pitchforks to make a stand last week and almost win the god darn game. It was crazy. And the fact that, here's the main thing. He didn't lose the team. He did. We've seen in the past where the team was a lot more successful, but the locker room was at a loss. Like everybody was just kind of like checked out. These guys are wanting to play ball. They're still in it. They're 2 wins for the season, and they have that switch flipped where they're like, we're going out there against Houston, we're going to light them up. That's big time. That's, it's Rich Rod have Denzel, like remember the Titans in the locker room there, like helping them hype up. That's what I'm thinking in my mind. But this week's going to be an interesting week. We haven't had a noon kickoff yet, have we? We had 11 a.m. Kansas.
I thought we did, but I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe this is the first
Kansas.
one.
We had a 1 p.m. We had
Well, I thought Pitt was noon. Was it not?
No, Pitt was 3:30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
this is going to be interesting because I think Texas Tech's going to be later in the day.
Probably.
Don't know what Arizona State's going to be, and Colorado has been announced. Isn't it a 1 o'clock game?
I believe so. That's what you were saying earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was asked to do the Voice of West Virginia pregame and postgame for Frank Fear for that, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do that.
Congratulations! That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, find someone. I don't want my tickets to go to waste, so I got to find a home for my tickets. So if anybody wants tickets in section 131, row 20, I'm your Huckleberry. But no, guys, it's gonna be a great end to the season. If you asked me that 2 weeks ago, I would have been like, Eric, I was like, how are we going to do a show? I don't want to be Negative Nelly and just beat up the program every week and be, oh, they suck. No, guys, that's not me. I'm trying to be optimistic. West Virginia is in a good spot. The fact that they had fans in the stadium. Jake Toll from Locked On was just ranting and raving on how the fan base is just fantastic here. That says a lot. That says a lot for the program, for the state, for the people, and once again, and I'm ashamed to say it, I'm proud to be a fan of the Mountaineers. A couple weeks ago, I was getting kind of like, maybe I'm just not going to wear my Mountaineer hat out. I'm still, I'll rock it now. But Eric, great show. And any final thoughts for the folks in the chat?
I got to admit, when you first said you were thinking that Rich went Denzel, I went to training day. I didn't go to remember the Titans, and I'm thinking of training day where he's saying, "You're going to do this to me." No, I think that I want to give a shout out to the Mountaineer Nation. I think they're a huge reason that the players, because I wouldn't say the players had checked out, but I think it was getting difficult for them. But the Coal Rush game, look, if you would have taken away the names of the teams playing, and so no one would have known, you never would have known WVU was 2-5 playing a team that is still in the hunt for the Big 12 championship.
Great point.
That was a fantastic showing for WVU. That is going to bear dividends for years to come because people are going to see the support. Not only the support, they're going to see that the product that WVU is putting on the field. And I think the players responded. They felt the support. They felt the appreciation. I think they're going to carry that through for quite a while. Can't wait to see what we can do this week. We owe Houston. We got to give them one.
With that, guys, we're going to let you go. This is the voice of West Virginia. Excuse me, West Virginia's college show at the Voice of College Football. So every Thursday, 8 o'clock, we're here. Every Monday at 9 o'clock, we do a show. And guys, I will see you when I see you. And let's go Mountaineers. And we're going to close the show with the great state of West Virginia's flag. So good night.